Hey, I'm Tom, and welcome to 2025. I'm doing this video because I'm excited about the new year, and I'm excited about a whole lot of projects I've got going on, and I just want to give you guys an update of what you can expect both throughout the year and during the start of the year, I suppose. The past 2 years I've done sort of a accounting video of what I painted during the year, but I thought I'd do something different this year. So this is going to be a little bit more informal, a little bit less edited, but I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. At least I hope so. Also, excuse any bangs and pops in the background. It is the 1st of January when I'm recording this, so people are still letting off fireworks here and there. So one of the projects that I just started working on is converting up some Imperial army as used for allies for my Heresy armies. As I record this, I am doing a big batch of infantry to see how much I get converted up before I need to take a break from it. This will probably end up as a lore video on the Imperial army and stuff that's adjacent to it, organizational structure, what have you. So that's what I'm working on right now. What else do we have coming up that I'm excited for? This is another project that I'm very excited for. Let me show you. It's a bit of a mess right here. Like I said, this isn't going to be that fancy, polished, and edited. Let me just show you what I got going. So, this will of course have its own dedicated video. This right here is a modular campaign map that I'm working on. If I could find the right piece, there we go. For a custom campaign that I'm making and hope to be playing with possibly some new players or some of my friends. And I hope to document some of it on my channel as battle reports and as creating the campaign. This was a goal for last year, but I did start it, but never got there. So this is a hex-based map of a space station. No, it doesn't look like it right now, but it will have a second and third level where I can place more tiles or just shrink it down to just a tiny campaign of like 6 hexes. And yeah, just a little demo, I suppose, of some of the stuff that I got printed. And there'll be, more levels and whatnot. And here are some macro cannon batteries that can be glued or slotted into. Yeah. Version 2.0, the second layer, will be easier to slot things into. This will probably have to be glued. But I can put macro cannon batteries or lance batteries or launch base on this just for decorations for right now. And it is all based off of the Battlefleet Gothic stuff. These guys, these lunar class cruisers, I've taken basically that, modeled it in 3D and scaled it up a little bit. And this campaign map will have some of these Battlefleet Gothic ships around it, depending on the entry point different factions and different players select. Mostly just to have it cinematic. I like being immersed in my games. And then just to give a little bit of teaser for unique environments as you fight over these spots, I've created just a little system here where you can either random generate or I can generate for the players what is in each tile. For instance, a drop bay where there are a lot of drop pots and you can secure that and maybe gain some bonuses for the campaign and for your force, or the Apothecarion, maybe you'll get an army-wide feel no pain or something like that. Just a minor thing, but also have a thematic board for each of these. And of course you can just draw them at random so I don't know what is there and there'll be a bit of a fog of war. Anyway, way too deep into this right now. And of course, once you fight over one of these tiles, which will be Zone Mortalis. I've started laser cutting some base boards for this of my own design based off of the Necromunda Zone Mortalis tiles. But I'm going to be doing more variations. I'm just getting the hang of using a laser cutter, and I've done some test pieces of the first iteration here. And I'll maybe cut in some video of some terrain on these test pieces. But I aim to do a 4x4 board, and that will be a lot of fun. I look forward to playing Zone Mortalis, and I hopefully look forward to introducing a couple of new players to Heresy, since you don't have to have that many models to get games going. Right, that's this project. That's a campaign. Let me show you some other projects that I'm working on. And here is another terrain project that I'm working on. Some corpses to leave on the battlefield to make it more cinematic when a lot of casualties are taken, or just as, you know, scattered terrain and whatnot. And some of them are cast off of these that came from Angron's base or Karn's base. And some of them are just made up of me pushing some bits into some stuff. I'll get to that in a video, but I'm also doing some extra ruins and whatnot to make the battlefield terrain a little bit more believable, instead of just a building and no debris around the buildings. It should be a lot more immersive. So I've tried my hand at some casting. Haven't got a video up on that yet, but I will. Look forward to these getting finalized, painted up, and put on the table for more immersive battles and battle reports. Some of these are cast with sprue goo, and some of them are cast with milliput. And you might think the quality is poor, but honestly, the stuff in plastic is going to be stuff that's buried in rubble and just going to add to the scene. In any case, I learned a lot by doing this project, and I'm going to do it a whole lot more in the future, where it makes sense. One of the other projects I got going is my original 40k to 30k World Eaters project. And for that, I want to add some predators. Here is one of the new ones. This is the support predator. I'm going to build it up with a melter cannon, I think. Not important for this video. Should give me even more spare bits, and I should get started on converting up some of all these 40k vehicles. There's a lot in here, if you can't see. Sorry about that. Like I said, a little less polished this video. But yeah, loads of Rhino chassis and Predator chassis in here. I'm thinking some Predator squadrons for my World Eaters, as they can make great use of that. Some terrain, also probably some stuff for the Imperial Army. There are a couple of provenances of war that allow you to take stuff like Land Raiders and Rhinos in a militia force. So, maybe. Also some bikes and land speeders and stuff. There should be some vehicle projects coming up. One of the vehicle conversions I think I will make is a Vindicator for my World Eaters. This is Saran's old White Scar Vindicator. And for the shield / dozer blade, I think I have a cool idea. This thing, it needs some more grindy things, rock grindy things here. It's from one of these Genestealer Occult vehicles. I bought this to be used as terrain, as a civilian vehicle, because those are hard to find, and this without weapons on it will make a nice piece of terrain. Anyway, that's not about what this is about. I think this would make a nice shield here. Just have to figure out what sort of pose I want to do it in. Maybe I remove this and have the gun protrude through there or something like that. It has some of the Heresy kind of aesthetic to it, with these on top. I think it could look very nice, but all in due time. I look forward to adding some vehicles and expanding the collection so I can do more varied battles with them, both for events and for battle reports on the channel. Speaking of battle reports, we are going to be doing more. There are a lot of good feedback, and thank you for that, everyone who's given us that. I think we've taken a lot of it on board. Most of it we kind of already knew. I gotten some new equipment for my camera, and I'm going to be ordering a stabilizer as a present for myself to hopefully eliminate a little bit of shakiness and make it a little bit more nice and cinematic. The World Eaters and Imperial Fists are coming along. This is my spare, mostly 30k bits box of units. There's a little bit of other stuff back here, don't worry about that. But yeah, there's some Cataphractes, Mark 3s, Mark 4s, Mark 6s, new Corn Berserkers, some characters. There's a lot of conversion fodder here, and there's a bunch of units I want to add to both my Imperial Fists and my World Eaters. Now I'll take you over to where I store my finished and my ongoing projects. So let me grab my phone, as it's easier to use while I show you some other stuff. So here we are. I got my models organized a little bit different. That's something I did during the year as well, but you aren't interested in that. One of the reasons why it would be a little bit difficult to do the whole accounting for models this year is because a lot of what I've done this year is simply just upgrade models, not paint them. It's gonna be hard to see, but just on older models, just adding new highlights and basing and stuff. That was a poor example, I suppose. For instance, I'm starting to upgrade some of my Bretonnian stuff for the old world. Whoop. That is poorly lit. Making a bunch of movement trays. I got a bunch of converters and movement tray systems that I've made. I put them on cults. I'll throw a link in the description if anyone is interested. But yeah, these are some of the stuff that I'm upgrading or have upgraded compared to, sorry about the mess, a bunch of stuff in here from my Imperial Army project and yeah, whatnot. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that needs upgrading. I haven't done a video on the old world yet, but let's step over here. So make my terrain easier to find and organize, and I've started working on some stuff for the Mortalis campaign. I got a whole other set of this. There will be a video on me making the terrain for the Mortalis campaign stuff. Like with the models, I've also spent a lot of time upgrading the terrain from painted to, you know, more highlights and battle damage and weathering and tying it into the board and whatnot. Like with my Warhammer stuff, I've also spent a lot of time upgrading my A Song of Ice and Fire or Game of Thrones stuff from a tabletop standard to a higher tabletop standard, I suppose. So I'm still in the process of that, elevating the basing and the highlights and whatnot. It's my cavalry, my House Bolton stuff, my House Lannister stuff, the stuff that's painted anyway, some Golden Company stuff, some House Clegane. Here's my Starks and Karstarks, a bunch of characters and direwolves, and various other northern houses, Tullys, Mormonts, Umbers, Cranachs, various heroes. This game is really awesome, but I'm not sure how to cover it on the channel, because it's a niche game, it probably doesn't mesh with what you guys want to watch, and I'm not really customizing anything. And battle reports tend to be a bit long because they're alternate activations with interrupts in the shape of cards and triggers and whatnot. So I suppose when I am done upgrading the army to a level that I'm happy with, that I will do some army showcases, probably. Maybe a how to play. We'll see. We will see. And then in the lower part of this cabinet are stuff that I'm still working on. More Song of Ice and Fire stuff, some project bins, that's some 40k stuff that I'm probably gonna convert to 30k. Imperial Fist stuff, more Song of Ice and Fire. Some Imperial Fist stuff that I wasn't happy with that I'm upgrading or reworking. Some new projects for Imperial Fists. My 40k orcs in storage, also upgrading some of that. Some of my Bretonnian stuff. I'll splice in some footage of how I've upgraded stuff from this old standard to a new one. As an example of how I'm upgrading my Bretonnian collection, here are some old stuff with some horrible basing and this black and white custom scheme that I made. And the knights would be like, it was an attempt to make it a uniform looking army, and the knights would be black and white and then have an accent color. It didn't sit well with me because it's an established universe. I wanted to adhere to the faction, but at that time I really wanted a uniform look. But I think I've found a way to achieve that, and that was to excuse some missing shields and some missing heads. They're a work in progress. But to have a knight, and then each knight brings a couple of guys from his little castle, fiefdom, what have you. So this guy would bring these guys, and this guy would bring these guys, and so on and so forth. I'll do a video on this eventually. Not sure when, because while I love fantasy and the old world, it's not one of the primary games that I play at the moment. So it's sort of a palette cleanser, back burner project. There's still some painting left to be done on these guys, but I think it's already kind of an upgrade from the old stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that looks, having a mixed heraldry unit of archers and men-at-arms and whatnot. So you can see that each knight brings a couple of retainers and whatnot, and then they all get lumped into larger units. And of course there'll be several knights coming from the same fiefdom and same house. So maybe in some cases 2/3 of a regiment will be from one house, and then with a third from a different dukedom. Back to what I was saying. And my fantasy orcs, some more projects here. There's some rampagers and Endred Harmer. More world eater projects. Here's some orcs that need painting for 40k. Don't play that currently, so on the back burner. And a bunch of spare weapon options that I need to finish or magnetize. And then I guess not a whole lot to show, but some of my completed stuff for both World Eaters and Imperial Fists. Some old Dreadnoughts up here. I'm gonna convert those and rework those a little bit. They're in behind those drop pods. I also want to make a drop pod army for the Rite of War that goes with that. Here's a shelf of Land Raiders that I'm working on. Some for Fists, some for World Eaters. Some old stuff that I'm gonna be reworking. Not all of this will be in videos, I suppose. These are the old Space Hulk Terminators. I think I'll be painting those up as Blood Angels, and then just having them as a standalone thing for that board game. And then I'll do the Gene Stealers as well, but not sure if I'll do a video on that. My old 40k Fists, I'm gonna be salvaging some of this for 30k. First project for them in this part of the project is probably gonna be taking the scouts and transferring them to 30k. It'll be quite an easy job. Then we got some demons. I want to add to those so I can have those as allies for the World Eaters. Some more World Eater stuff that probably can be converted, but not a priority at the moment. So they're just in here. And more 40k orcs in storage. I'll also be touching up some of my 40k vehicles and transferring them to 30k, such as my Achilles. I'm gonna wrap up the video here. This was quite a rambly and less edited video. They usually don't do all that well for me, but instead of taking ages to actually get a video out on a topic that is super hit or miss, then just thought, let's get it out there. I was excited. Maybe you got excited by some of the projects. These are some of the projects that I will definitely be working on, hopefully be doing videos on sooner rather than later. And I'm sure there will be many other things throughout the year that is not in this video. I've made a good deal of progress on the Imperial Army since last. That is why I haven't got this video out. I mentioned that I filmed it on January 1st, and while I'm recording this, it's January 7th. But I have converted up 2 squads, and I'm actually really happy with how they turned out. I think I'm going to delay the lore video just a tiny bit longer, because there's actually a lot of lore that I don't want to get wrong, spanning many different books, both Tempest and Conquest from Heresy 1, the Militia PDF, the main rulebook, and various other official sources. This won't be a wiki read, not that any of my lore videos have been. I try to actually read the stuff from the books. But I think my first video on the Imperial Army of this year will be about a recon squad that I made. And I'm super happy with how they turned out. At least the conversion part. I'm not done painting them at the time that I'm recording this. So once again, thank you for sticking around for a very in the spirit of the moment video. I hope you guys got some good projects going. Maybe you're starting a new army like me. I'm excited anyway. Hope you are too. Cheers and happy 2025.